Daniel already knew that what he needed to do. He didn't hold a huge press conference because he wanted to control the process of the situation in his hands. That's not it, this time it was an accident. I never thought that my unintentional actions would bring out such a big problem for Brilliant Entertainment, and I also never thought of taking Caroline's place in this movie. Arya's voice came through the microphone and filled the hall in a calm and gentle manner. I apologize to Director Brown for my actions. Also, please have the public believe that the play is very fair and transparent, with absolutely not buying or selling the role. As for the news on the internet, it was me who took the opportunity to announce it. It has nothing to do with anyone. Do you mean that you take all the responsibility on your own? And it has nothing to do with the Brilliant Entertainment? Yes. Arya stood up, her clear eyes swept across everyone. No matter what the reason is, I will bear the consequences. The reporters looked at each other. They had the nagging feeling that Arya was not being coerced, but who would be like her and shoulder all the responsibility? Wasn't this just cutting off her own escape route? There will be no way out of this. Arya took a deep breath. She thought that after doing this, Daniel and others would back off, but... The investor immediately opened his mouth. This is great. We do everything honestly in TV and movie industry. We have always valued the strength of actors. How can there be such hidden rules and deals? In order to push all blame to Arya, they had already prepared these lines. Miss Arya, I hope this incident can teach you a lesson. In the future, don't ever do such a thing again. Daniel said as he suddenly patted her shoulder. Daniel's words completely cleared the company and Caroline. It was truly cold-blooded and heartless. Arya didn't explain anything. She bowed towards Director Brown and walked out of the meeting room. The moment she walked out, she revealed a relaxed smile. The war had now just begun. As the reporters were invited by Daniel, what Arya said in the conference room was posted online. Not long after, the headlines of the entertainment magazines were all about her jealousy towards Caroline, and she had designed to hype rumors. Daniel paid the internet trolls and added fuel to the fire. The investor took the opportunity to hit the iron when it was hot and forced the production team to decide Caroline as Jane. Under heavy pressure, the directing team had no choice but to agree. Dehua also received the news about this. After Martin went Alan's office to report, he asked a few more questions. Do you want to help Madam to remove these obstacles? Let's see what she thinks first. If he made a move, everything would instantly disappear like a bubble. But he wanted to see Arya's counterattack. How could Alan Jones's woman be ruined by such a thing? Arya took the initiative to take all the responsibility for the loss of Brilliant Entertainment and allowed Director Brown's show to begin as scheduled. Because Caroline was victim of this incident, her popularity rose by a little bit. However, Arya was constantly being scolded by the people online. Fake, wannabe actress and scheming girl were all posted online to criticize Arya. Arya sat in the resting room on the first floor of the Brilliant Entertainment. She put down her phone and sighed. She would remember everything she endured today and return it to Daniel and Caroline twice as much in future. When she raised her head, she saw the newbies of Brilliant Entertainment had just signed were pointing at her. What are you talking about? Arya asked with a cold expression. I said your methods are shameful and to use this technique trying to get popular. Our company doesn't need such an out-of-date celebrity like you. Hurry up, pack your bags and leave, don't affect our future. We don't want to see your face. Arya was sizing them up. They looked young, beautiful and had great figures, but that doesn't mean that they would be popular. She had no way to control the public opinion online. At the very least, in her eyes things were very clear. Not everyone could bully her. If you want to be popular, you have to learn how to consider it to people first. She called Daniel's office. There are newcomers gossiping about me replacing Caroline at the company. I don't think that will give a good reputation to the company. I'll be right there. Daniel's voice came over the phone. 5 minutes later, Daniel came over with his secretary. On the spot, he announced 3 newcomers were forbidden from taking any activities for a while and that they were grounded. The 3 newcomers realized their mistake and kept apologizing Arya with their head down. They were so scared that their faces were pale. Sister Arya, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Arya ignored them, as if mocking herself, as she said to herself, it seems that anyone can ride on my back now. Why don't I officially retire from this industry and go back to inherit the Morrison family's property? At least no one would dare to look down on me. She wasn't a person who liked to fight with others, but if someone tried to provoke her, she wouldn't be lenient. Arya, stop messing around. I happen to have something that I need you to trouble with. Daniel's face sank and he pulled her back, although Director Brown agreed to cast Caroline to be Jane, but her acting wasn't good enough. Why don't you teach her? She is your good friend. Right? If you ask her to put in a few good words in front of Director Brown, you might be able to have a small cameo. Arya forcefully suppressed the anger in her heart and remained calm. Daniel really thought of her as a softie that could be bullied. It was probably Caroline who suggested this idea to him. She wanted to use this opportunity to humiliate Arya, but Daniel actually managed to voice it out loud. Caroline's good acting is good for the company and to us both. Just treat it as teaching her for me and for the outside world. You are all artists in the same company, so if you don't keep a good relationship with her, it won't be good if words get out. Daniel was only following Caroline's instructions and mentioned it casually. He didn't expect Arya to actually agree. All right, lead the way. Arya agreed without hesitation. Great, I knew you were most considerate. Considerate. Arya smiled calmly and followed Daniel into the car. She was considerate only to people who were worth it. People like him and Caroline were not worth of her consideration. At this time, it was uncertain who would win and who would lose. She can be movie queen after taking down 3rd female lead. Who told her? On the way there, Daniel was playing with his cell phone, probably sending a message to Caroline. Arya raised her head and looked out of the window. Just then they passed Alan's company. Daniel, in terms of strength between Brilliant Entertainment and Dahua Entertainment, which one is stronger? Currently, Dahua is still the most powerful entertainment company. Daniel answered honestly. Daniel's assistant said in the front, Mr. Daniel, we will definitely surpass Dahua next year. Once Caroline becomes the movie queen, this thing will not be a problem. Arya ignored them. That man was not someone that anyone can surpass. Brilliant Entertainment was a company that could not surpass Dahua in this lifetime. For a moment, Arya actually felt that she missed that extraordinarily handsome face, missed his gentleness and his kiss. When he appeared in her mind, Arya's eyes were filled with smiles. It was exactly like when Daniel was constantly coaxing Caroline and paid no attention to her. When they reached at the next intersection, Arya looked down and saw an unread message on her phone. Things are sorted. The photos can be revealed at any time. As expected, Luna's work was assuring. Arya didn't reply to Luna's message. She got out of the car as if nothing happened and walked towards Caroline's ward. Caroline didn't dare to leave the hospital because of the tense situation outside. In order to delay and prevent Daniel's marriage registration with Arya, she injured herself while training the new actors. Arya felt that Caroline spent all her time and effort in getting her man. No wonder she had been unable to become famous even after so many years. In the ward, Caden reported the details to Caroline and was extremely pleased. I never thought that Arya would actually dare to come. I will make her regret this decision and for her to never dare bring up the matter of marriage with Daniel again. Caroline, the reporters have already made arrangements. As long as you shout, I will immediately bring my men and rush in. Don't worry, I will come up with a good injured scene. It is time to let Arya know who Daniel's most beloved woman is. She clenched her fists tightly. Every day at Brilliant Entertainment, she had been testing her patience. She had wanted to push Arya down from the clouds for a long time. Oh, yes, we are already planning for you to become the movie queen. It doesn't matter how much it costs, you will definitely get that award. Caroline frowned. Keep your voice down, and don't let anyone hear you. There's no one else here. Caden laughed without a care. She's almost here. Hurry up and lie down. Caroline quickly laid down on the bed and pretended to be weak. The next moment, Daniel walked in with Arya. Caroline, Arya came to see you to discuss acting with you. What's wrong with you? Before Daniel could finish, he saw Caroline struggling to sit up on the bed. He quickly rushed over to help her up. Daniel, I'm sorry, I'm so useless. Because of this minor injury, I've troubled you so much and caused Arya to suffer. Caroline looked up from Daniel's arms. Arya, you won't blame me, right? Arya looked coldly at the two of them and sneered in her heart. They no longer care about anything else. Daniel smiled embarrassedly and also realized that something was wrong with his actions. Arya won't think in that way. You didn't mean to get hurt. Daniel, I don't think Caroline's condition is too good. Go buy some fruits for her. Arya gently said as she put down her bag. That was her last time of being polite. How can you order young master to do something? Caden's eyes almost popped out. Young master, I'll go. Arya frowned and immediately became angry. Do you have the right to speak here? Who told you I can't order Daniel around? I'm his fiancé, who do you think you are? With that, Caden was going to snap back, but was cut off by Caroline. Stop it. Daniel, then if you don't mind I'll be troubling you. Arya glanced coldly at the assistant and watched him walk out of the ward behind Daniel. Caroline gritted her teeth. That sentence was obviously meant for her. Although Daniel was very considerate to her, his real fiancée was still Arya. As Caroline thought of this, a sinister look of jealousy appeared in her eyes. You called me here to teach you how to act. Arya took out the script pretending she didn't know anything. Actually, I want to ask you to leave Brilliant Entertainment. Caroline coughed. I have received news that there is discussion about you outside that has affected the company's reputation. If you want Daniel to succeed, you should leave the company on your own accord. Should. Arya was on the verge of losing control of her anger. She said coldly, Caroline, please pay attention to your words. She had helped both of them for many years. Even if they didn't talk about feelings, just based on the benefits she earned for Brilliant Entertainment in the past, even Daniel's parents wouldn't dare to say such words to her. Who was Caroline? What qualifications did she have? Arya, I'm doing this for your own good. I've already made my arrangements. When you leave the company, I'll announce. Bang! Arya saw with her own eyes Caroline had overturned the vase on the bedside table. The sounds of shattering shards were exceptionally ear-piercing within the ward. Following that, footsteps hurriedly came from outside and Caroline's screams was heard within the ward. Caroline. Are you okay? Caden rushed in immediately, as if he already knew that something was going to happen in the ward. Next, the reporters rushed into the ward and surrounded the sickbed, constantly taking photos of Caroline's broken vase with pear flowers. Don't shoot, don't. Arya didn't intentionally hurt me, she was just too angry. I let her down, I'm not good, I'm about to give up my role and help her with her comeback. Please don't shoot anymore. As she said, she continued to look miserable in front of the camera. In the eyes of Arya, all of this was just a little trick that she had long imagined. The reporters then pointed their cameras at Arya, please explain what just happened in the ward. Arya calmly raised her eyes. Why should I explain? On the sickbed, Caroline shouted, Arya, quickly go. I'll explain it to you. If she had such acting skills in the movie, she would have been popular long time ago. Arya withdrew her gaze and was not interested in staying any longer. Just as she was about to leave, Daniel walked in. Seeing the messy scene in the ward, he gave Arya a hard look. When did she become so careless? He walked straight to Caroline's side and asked with concern, Are you all right? You didn't hurt yourself, right? I'm fine. It's just that Arya might have misunderstood me. Caroline had a wrong look on her face. Just as Arya was about to speak, Daniel yelled at her, Enough, do you think this place is not messy enough? Send her back. He shouted to his assistant. Arya looked at them and then looked away. Since this was Daniel's own choice, he had better not regret it. Arya walked out of the ward with an expressionless face and said to the assistant, I don't need you to send me off. I will leave by myself. Even if Daniel didn't say anything, she didn't have the time to watch them show their affection. Thus, Daniel's assistant snorted coldly. In the eyes of his subordinates, the future Mrs. Parker was Caroline, not Arya. However, a silent storm was quietly approaching. Not long after, the news of Arya making Caroline give up her role with the intention of visiting her while she was injured in the ward was once again front page now. Brilliant Entertainment immediately protected Caroline, and didn't care about Arya at all. As the mass were discussing Arya, a series of pictures appeared out of thin air. Since 4 years ago, intimate photos of Daniel and Caroline, whether it was the eyes contact during the event or whether the paparazzi photographed them meeting in private, the relationship between the two of them were like a couple. Below the headlines was a photo of Caroline entering and leaving the obstetrics and gynecology department. It turned out that Caroline was the mistress in their relationship. At that time, someone posted in online about Arya's brilliant performance that day during audition, saying that if the audition was broadcast, the actors in Jane's role wouldn't be as good as Arya, which meant that there was something dodgy in the casting. Some people speculated that Arya was forced to prove her ability due to her emotional trauma. Some said that Arya relied on her status and ability to complete crush Caroline and she only wronged herself because of Daniel. Now that she was in such a state because Brilliant Entertainment owed her. At this moment, the film crew came to discuss the follow-up arrangements with Caroline. Assistant director had just exchanged a few words with her when his superior called him. All right, I'll take a look at it right away. Before Caroline knew what had happened, she saw assistant director take out his phone and showed her an enlargement intimate photo of herself and Daniel. Miss Caroline, is this your relationship with director Daniel? Caroline was stunned and her expression turned flustered. How did you get this photo? Her first reaction already proved that the photo wasn't faked. Assistant director put away the script. Miss Caroline, although we don't have the right to ask about your private affairs, but since things have come to this point, we can only look forward to the next collaboration. No, wait, I can explain. A staff member on the side muttered to himself, while one is miserable, the other is with someone's fiancé. That's amazing. What did you say? Caroline yelled in anger, her mind was in total chaos. That staff member glanced at her, the facts are right in front of your eyes. Is someone else who framing you? It's fine if you don't have any acting skills, but I didn't think that your character is so bad. You. Caroline quickly signaled Caden with her eyes. Hurry up and chase them away. When Caden reacted and was to take action, the directing team staff had already left. Caroline was so angry that her entire body was trembling. She fiercely gripped the bed sheets and said, Arya, you're so ruthless. She quickly dialed Daniel's number, but Daniel was already having a headache over the photos. Naturally, he wasn't in a good mood right now. Daniel, I'm so scared. Caroline put on her usual tone of crying and acted like a spoiled child. However, the man wasn't in the good mood to coax her. The company has already sent people to deal with it. It won't cause much of an impact, but meanwhile, we shouldn't meet again. Daniel. All right, stop causing trouble. He hung up the phone and sat in a dilemma in his office. Now that Arya didn't answer his call at all, he really didn't know when she will give up. Suddenly, the screen on his phone lit up. It was an unknown number. If you want to know Arya's new address, go to the coffee shop on Silver East Road immediately. Who sent the message? Daniel didn't have time to think about it and immediately ran out. In the coffee shop's private room, Arya and Alan sat opposite each other, the coffee aroma wafting in the air. He's here. Alan looked towards the door with a cold voice. He wanted to know what Arya would do next. Arya nodded indifferently and continued reading the news on her phone. She had no intention of going out to see Daniel. Don't want to see him. His gaze was fixed on Arya's face. The beauty of this woman was ostentatious and quiet, like a tempting whirlpool. I don't intend to meet him. I just wanted to add a bit of spice to make this game more interesting. Alan smiled. I thought you wanted to ask me out on purpose. I didn't expect you were doing it for another man. No. Arya could never hide her sincerity in front of him. She exclaimed in a flustered and nervous manner. Listening to his intoxicated low voice made her heart skip a beat. Then what? Alan asked slowly, as he held her hand and said in a domineering manner, Tell me. I just want to see you. Arya had never said such words to a man before. Unlike acting in front of camera, when she said the words, her face was red and heart was thumping. Although she was very shy, her words were sincere. Then why sit so far away? Alan lightly said. He got up and sat beside Arya, hugging her shoulders. Arya cutely leaning against his arm and smiled sweetly. From their angle, they could clearly see the situation in the hall. They saw Daniel anxiously waiting on his seat. How many times had she waited all night for him? She was so stupid when he trampled on her heart. At that time, Caroline must be lying beside him. Alan looked the woman beside him and remained silent. Am I too immature? Arya asked as she raised her head from his embrace. Yes. Alan turned his head to look at her face. He had to say that she acted like a child, but he could see her determination. However, I feel that childish women are more suitable for me. Alan naturally picked up the coffee cup from the table. Arya whispered, That's my coffee. Alan drank it down. He looked at the faint red lip marks on the cup and asked, Does this count as an indirect kiss? Arya's face was embarrassed, as she read the meaning in his eyes, and she slowly closed her eyes, waiting for him to kiss her. Alan no longer hesitated and leaned his head down. This woman seemed to be his fate. Once he met her, it was very difficult for him to not to be moved. It was very difficult to not go near her and not hug or kiss her. How could he bear to see his delicate wife being humiliated by those scums? Only Arya can humiliate them. Daniel was getting so impatient that he kept dialing the unknown number, but no one answered, so he didn't dare to leave. After an hour, the waiter sent Daniel a note according to Arya's instructions. Of course, it wasn't her new address. It was just one sentence. In 3 days, have Caroline withdraw from the nomination for the Movie Queen's Award. In exchange, I'll give you Arya's new address. Daniel cursed in his heart, looked around, got up and left. People didn't need to look at his face to know that he was mad. However, Arya's mood did not change at all. In her life, Daniel was not worth her attachment and concern. Let's go home. There's something else I want to do. What do you want to do? Arya asked while she looked at him surprised. Alan didn't say anything else, but his entire body was emitting a cold aura. However, Arya was staring straight at him. She wanted to understand him. The reason you're looking at me like that is because you want to invite me over. Actually, there's a place I want to go. Arya calmed down and took the initiative to hold Alan's arm, avoiding his burning gaze. After we go, then can we go home and continue our unfinished business tonight? Alan was trying to tease her on purpose, but when Arya heard this, she became nervous and kept quiet. Instead of going home, they went to the seaside church where Arya wanted to go. Arya didn't want to hide anything from Alan. He gave her a time limit. She understood what that meant. If she couldn't put down her past relationship with Daniel, then she didn't have the right to be his woman. The car stopped in front of the church's entrance. Arya and Alan walked side by side. I'd like to retrieve the photograph I left here, Arya said to the priest. Alan looked at her expression but didn't say anything. When she got the thick photo album, he asked, "You want to take this?" "Yes, this is the last connection that is haunting me." Arya thought back to all the time she spent with Daniel. At that time, she naively thought that this man really loved her, but later on she found out that everything was just a lie. She must make Daniel pay the price for what he had done. Alan watched as she threw the photo album into the fire. The burning flame danced in front of their eyes, and the last trace of reluctance in her heart towards Daniel was completely burned away. From today onwards, I am only living for myself, to be worthy of you. Arya raised her head and smiled. Her smile was gentle but it was also straightforward. So you won't be sad. He kissed her lightly on the forehead. Arya held his hand and felt his warmth. She told herself that she would never be harmed or used again. She would make those people pay double for what they did to her. Alan waited quietly for her. After a long while, he finally said, "Now, is Mrs. Jones willing to come home with me?" Arya nodded shyly. She smiled and wrapped her arms around his neck as he carried her to the car. "Of course, I'd go home with you." Daniel looked around for Arya's whereabouts, but her phone was turned off and he couldn't contact her. He even asked a private detective to look up Arya's new address. What happened recently made him feel very strange. Arya would never have done this to him in the past. But no matter what, he couldn't give up on Arya. More importantly, he couldn't give up on the Morrison family's power. "Daniel, why didn't you come to look for me?" Caroline rushed into the office with Caden. Seeing Caroline, Daniel immediately smiled, signaling Caden and his secretary to leave. He walked up to her and embraced her. "I wanted you to have a good rest in the hospital. I didn't want to disturb you." "Is that so? How come I heard that you were looking for Arya everywhere?" Caroline pouted and pulled at his shirt, feeling wronged. "I've put up so much for you. Could she be the only one in your heart?" "I don't care about the fame, I just hope you don't give up on our child. Otherwise, I'd rather have a miscarriage." "Don't talk nonsense." Daniel became agitated at the mention of children. "I have to find Arya for the sake of you and the baby. Before you give birth, I will definitely make sure you receive this Movie Queen's Award. Daniel, I hope you will always remember your promise." Caroline immediately gave him a kiss. In order to protect Caroline, Daniel spent a lot of money to buy the internet, meticulously designing the bridge, and the Navy clarified his and Caroline's photos on the Tiaba and on the website. It was just a composite photo. There was a third party present that day, so the news was not fabricated. The special appointed lawyer for Brilliant Entertainment also issued a statement in an official capacity and will pursue the legal responsibility of the rumors. Furthermore, he insinuated that it was because Arya was jealous and purposely darkened Caroline's image. His unrestrained strength to turn a scandal to their advantage was indeed effective. Arya had once again been pushed to the center as the scapegoat. While he was defending Caroline, he did not consider Arya's reputation at all. When Luna saw the news, she was infuriated. Is he still a man? No, does he not have a conscience? Arya sighed. Luna, don't be angry. How can I not be angry? He will have to be grateful to you for the rest of his life for the money you earned for helping him. Now that he has done this for another woman and let you down, I won't take this betrayal. Luna said as she was to settle the score with Daniel, but Arya stopped her. She was about to persuade Luna when Martin, Alan's assistant, walked over. Madam, Mr. Jones is waiting for you. Madam. You must have recognized the wrong person. When Luna was Arya nodded in agreement, her eyes widened in surprise. Arya, you, no wonder. Recently, I felt that you were weird when you were coming in and out of the company. You wouldn't hide it from me, right? If Arya hadn't traded her most precious thing, would there be anyone willing to support her, a former movie queen who had retired for more than 2 years? Luna, don't think too much about it. I'll explain it to you on the way. Arya said as she stood up and walked outside. Luna became a little anxious and ran to catch up. You have always been outstanding. Even if you want to overthrow Caroline, you can't go to the wrong path. You're still so young, and you still have a bright future ahead of you. Arya's eyes lit up as she smiled. Luna, I won't sell myself. You'll know who I am to meet later. It was because she trusted Arya that Luna had always been following her. Now that she saw Arya like this, she felt both puzzled and regretful. Seeing the luxurious car that was picking Arya up at the door, she snorted. I wonder what kind of old man he is, to have so much money. As Arya's manager, she had seen a lot of big scenes in the past few years. Not many people could drive such a car in the city. Luxurious, steady, but not ostentatious. A few candidates flashed through her mind, but she felt that something wasn't right. She grabbed Arya's hand and asked, How far have you guys progressed? Why did they call you madam? Arya smiled. Luna's reflex arc seemed a little long. Luna, I never told you. Actually, I'm married. She couldn't help but smile at the sudden thought of the man's kindness and gentleness. Arya, this joke isn't funny at all. Luna was so shocked that she couldn't speak. She stared blankly at her, her brows knitted tightly. However, Arya didn't continue and waited for Luna to accept the fact. She didn't want to hide the fact that she was married to Alan Jones. Plus, since Luna was one of them, she has already thought about telling Luna. No. Arya, listen to me. You can't ruin yourself for the sake of those shameless men and women. There must be other ways. From Luna's point of view, Arya must have wronged herself in order to obtain someone's power. The driver and Martin were silent the whole way. Who would have thought President Jones's image carried such a terrible identity? When the car stopped in front of the most luxurious hotel in the city, Luna pursed her lips and asked, Who is it? Arya whispered Alan's name into her ear. Stop messing around, could it be that they have the same surname? Luna turned around and saw Arya walk up the stairs. The man walking towards her had a fierce look in his eyes. His high nose made his sculptured facial features seem more three-dimensional. His body seemed to be emitting a godly light. Alan Jones. Is it really the CEO of Dahua Entertainment, Alan Jones? Luna covered her mouth in surprise and almost fainted. Alan raised his hand gracefully and held Arya's hand. Wearing an Italian suit, he stood on the steps with an imposing manner. His cold and proud eyes were filled with gentleness as he looked at Arya. Alan, I mentioned her to you before, my manager Luna. Arya leaned closer to Alan with a smile on her face. Arya's fresh and beautiful face revealed a happy smile. She trusted Luna to tell her Alan's identity, so she wanted to share this happiness with her. Ah, yes, I'm Arya's manager. Luna didn't know what else to say as she was dumbfounded. The person who she mistaken as a rich old man was actually the CEO of Dahua Entertainment. He was a young man with a reputation for being swift and decisive. He was the ideal husband for many of noble Mrs. Dreams in the industry. Luna silently thanked the heavens in her heart, allowing Arya to benefit from her misfortune. The seats have been reserved. Martin will bring you over. I have a meeting for the time being. I'll see you at home tonight. Gentleman Alan Jones lightly kissed the side of Arya's face, walked down the stairs, and said to Luna, "It's our first time meeting and our hospitality is not good. I will make other arrangements and thank you for your help and care for Arya. President Jones is too polite." Luna ran to Arya's side with a smile and excitedly held Arya's hand. "Quickly, quickly, pinch me to see if I'm dreaming." "Luna." Arya couldn't stop her, so she could only give her a light pinch. "Wow, this is too reversed. I never thought it would be Alan Jones. God bless you to escape from that trash of a man like Daniel and find such a handsome and rich man. This marriage is absolutely right." Whether Luna said it too early or not, her blessing to Arya was real. The seats that Alan had especially arranged were obviously the best. "That's it." Luna blinked when she heard Arya recount the process of their marriage. "I didn't expect Alan to be so low-key. This is also what I meant. For now, I don't want to publicize our marriage. I need to rely on my own strength to return. This is my only chance to prove my abilities." Arya said calmly, her expression was confident and firm. "If I rely on Mrs. Jones's identity to return to the peak, then I will become second Caroline, which I don't want. 3 years ago, I could have done it, and now, I know I can do it too. If you want to work with other artists, I will help you cancel your contract with Daniel and find you a better place to go." "I can't leave you." Luna put down her chopsticks. She had long decided to follow Arya and would not even think of leaving her during her most difficult times. However, Daniel's public actions are very unfavorable to you. What should we do next? Luna was very familiar with the methods of the industry. Based on Caroline's character, she would definitely persuade Daniel to make a move on Arya. "Of course it's time to return all the grievances I've suffered all these years." Arya sipped on her drink calmly.